Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Yiboneh Beit Midrash. We are here in Jerusalem, right? Ki tetzei Torah mi Yerushalayim, right? The Torah comes out of Zion and out of Yerushalayim, which is Zion. That's number one. We're dealing with Parshat Vayeishev. That's going to be the beginning. But part two is we're going to deal with some Hanukkah issues. So what I'm going to do, if I remember, Bli Neder, I'm going to put in the down below in the description box where part two begins for those who only want to hear about Hanukkah. Okay, so Bli Neder. Okay, so in chapter 37 of Genesis, the verse says, "V'yeshed Yaakov be'eretz migurei aviv be'eretz Canaan." So what is the problem? What are we dealing with? We're dealing with issues. And the first issue we're going to see in the verse is Yaakov dwelt in the land of his father's sojournings. Happened to be in the land of Canaan. Now in Hebrew, V'yeshed Yaakov. Yaakov dwelt, right? Yeshiva is a sitting, is a dwelling. Ba'aretz, in the land of where? Migurei Aviv. What does it mean, Migurei? I also have to tell you, I'm probably going to title this class, Who Are the Real Gerim? Okay? What does it mean to be a ger? So the first problem that the Kliyakar is going to have with this verse is the asymmetrical, right? It's not symmetrical. Shouldn't the verse have said that Yaakov dwelt in the place, in the same land that his father dwelt? Or Yaakov wandered in the same place that his father wandered? Now you may not think that that's a big deal, but all of our Chachamim and all of our Midrashim and so much of our lessons tonight are going to deal with this inconsistency. So let's see what the Kliyakar has to say. He begins by making this point. Hayel Lomar, the verse should have said, V'yeshed Yaakov be'eretz yeshivat aviv, or V'yagar Yaakov be'eretz migurei aviv. It should have had a consistent language in the beginning of the verse, as well as the middle or towards the end of the verse. And it doesn't. So we're going to have to deal with that tonight. Isn't that exciting? Number two, why do we need to know be'eretz Canaan? We already know. If you just go back, flip a few pages back, you know that we're dealing with someone who's living in the land of his father. Yitzhak never left. We already know that Yaakov came back. Of course it's Eretz Canaan. So the Kliyakar says, Lama li, what do I need? Why does the verse tell me Eretz Canaan? And now we're going to get into something that Chazal has talked about, and we're going to talk about tonight. Their lips are moving in their graves because they never died. Ela lefi ma'asim es Yaakov. Yaakov is being held accountable. He is guilty of something, and we can only hope and pray that we're not going to be guilty of the same thing. Al shabikesh liyeshe ba'olam hazeh yeshiva shel keva. What does that mean? That Yaakov sought, he desired, he wanted to have a dwelling in this world in a permanent way. Again, what does that mean in a permanent way? Liyot katosha b'olam hazeh. He wanted to be as a permanent resident in this world. It's much deeper than that. But that's just the surface level. Maybe I'll get into this idea. Chazal, our rabbis teach us that this world is only a prusdor. It's only a hallway to the next world. We should be living with 1 foot in Olam Haba, in the world to come, and 1 foot here in this world. How do I know? Because it says when you do Shabbat correctly, when you observe and practice Shabbat, where are you? You're getting a taste, you're getting a feeling of the world to come. Okay, so when there are other mitzvahs like that. This is, and when we're really connected with Hashem, if you really think about it, Hashem is Nitzachi, He's eternal. Okay, He's eternal, and if we're supposed to connect to the eternal, then on a certain level, even though, and you know what the word mitzvah means? Everyone translates as a law, right? Some dry, ritualistic law. That's not what mitzvah means. The real root of mitzvah means to connect. As in tzevet. A tzevet is a group, a connection between several people with the same goal. It means it's a staff, like a group of employees all working together. It's a chabura, lechaber. So mitzvah means lechaber, to connect to whom? The eternal. So yes, we're going to have, if we're really living a true Jewish life, we are going to have one foot in this world and one foot in the world to come. We don't want to be only connected in this world. Yet what does it mean that Yaakov saw it and there was some kind of guilt, some kind of negative ramifications because he sought this out? We'll see. And what is the Kliyakar says? Bimkom, in other words, he was Yoshev, he was trying to make himself like a permanent resident, or wanted to be, in place of, or not just in the place of, but in place of, Bimkom Migure Aviv. Whereas his forefather, Yitzhak and Abraham, certainly were Gerim. Gerim. What does Ger mean? A wanderer, a stranger. Ki Aviv lo asa, lo kein asa. His forefather Yitzhak did not do such a thing. Ella chaya ba'olam hazeh keger. He transversed this world as a visitor, right? It's really interesting because in order to convert in Israel, you have to have a visitor's visa. You can't come, unless you're an Israeli already, but you can't come on any other type of visa. Interesting. Okay, Daniel, that's a shout out to you if you hear this. Okay. Ureach notalelun. Not just a wanderer, but as a visitor who's just seeking a place to spend the night. Do you realize what God actually says to Isaac? Look at verse, the source number 2. You'll find that in Genesis 26:3. God says to Isaac, Gur ba'aretz hazot. What does Gur ha'aretz hazot mean? It's a command form. It's command form. I want you to be a sojourner in this land. I will be with you. I will bless you. For to you and to your seed I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore to Abraham, your father. Okay?
Except 3 verses later it says, Vayeishev.
Okay, that's okay. We're going to find that both attributes are going to be used. Even Abraham says, we'll see shortly.
Yeah.
Here we are. You want to look in Genesis 23, verse 4. Is that right? Ger v'toshav anochi imachem.
That's how Abraham.
Okay, so even Abraham described himself as both. Right? Like I said, having one foot in one place and another foot in the other. When he bought the burial place for Sarah. Okay, so I'm jumping ahead of myself, I believe. We're going back to the word which says Gur ba'aretz hazot, right? We saw in 26:3, the seeming command form for Isaac. So now he says his kir lashon gur. Why does the lashon gur appear in this seeming command by Isaac? Ki ratzo Hashem, because God wants. Shalo yevakesh yeshiva shel keva ba'olam hazeh. God does not want us. This is a lesson for every single one of us, not to feel this is a permanent dwelling for us in this world. Ki ein lomar, and if it wasn't said, shelachak his lashon gur lefi shehaya ba'oto pam dar ba'aretz lo lo. You have to remember, even though this land was promised to Abraham and his seed, to a certain extent, and we're going to see shortly, there was also I use the word promise, in the covenant between the parts, that you will be strangers in a strange land. Sounds familiar? For 400 years. Now, for what 400 years? We'll have to talk about that. So, even though the land he was living in a land that didn't really belong to him yet. It had not yet been fulfilled. Anyone who lives in a land as a foreigner is called a ger. Al ze amar, and that's why it says be'eretz Canaan. It doesn't, okay? But oto eretz haya Yitzhak toshav. It's true. Yitzhak was, as Larry pointed out, both a ger and a toshav. Ki shalohi. It really did belong to him. Shechen amar la'Avraham. I'm sorry. Shechen amar Avraham. Even Avraham said, as we mentioned in 23 verse 4, ger v'toshav anochi imachem. That you can find in source 3. V'im tirtzu. So Avraham himself, on one hand, Hareini ger, yes, it's true, I'm a ger. V'im lo, remember he was buying this property for his wife's burial place. He could have gotten it for free. The guy offered it to him for nothing. Does that make any sense that he wanted to pay for it? His paying for it, not taking for free, gained us time in our redemption. Big time. And I'll explain shortly. Ve'lena min hadit. Really, he could have taken it as it rightfully did belong to him. V'im ken gan Yitzchak haya toshav be'eretz Canaan. As Larry pointed out, Yitzchak is also called a toshav. Ki Yerusha hilo, because really, since it did belong to Abraham on a certain level, and it would have been handed down as an inheritance. So what exactly did God mean when he said to Yitzchak, I want you to be a ger, I want you to be gur ba'aretz. So this is going to be the lesson. With absolute certainty regarding the type of life one should live in this world is only as a ger, meaning as a wanderer, not a permanency. I want you to know the Kliyakar, he was the chief rabbi of Prague. He took over for the Maharal. And he wasn't the only one. I think the Maharal also very much gave rebuke to these very wealthy Jews who built mansions that could last 3 or 4 generations. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't tin homes or they weren't wooden structures. We're talking massive marble homes. And said, what are you doing? You're not going to be here anyway. I mean, you're going to be in Eretz Yisrael. But what do you think? Your house is going to outlive you, and your kids are going to take over, and they're going to be religious and all that stuff. You're not even teaching them correctly. You're building homes outside of Eretz Yisrael for hundreds of years. You should be using your money for tzedakah. You should be supporting Torah institutions. That's what you should be using your money for. The Kliyakar, that's Shlomo Ephraim from Lunchitz, and also the Maharal Prague. And I could tell you, look, if you're in America, I don't know if you're anywhere else in the world, have these big homes, sell it now, and move to Eretz Yisrael, and give away as much as you can while you're alive. What are you going to do? Leave it in your will? It's better to give it while you're alive. You get credit. I don't know how much credit you get if you leave it in your will, meaning it's only given after one dies. It might be nice for your family, but what about you? Ki Yerusha hilo. Okay, I read that. Okay, so this is the real lesson. With absolute certainty regarding this type of gerut in Olam Hazeh, he was teaching him that what shelo yavakesh lo yeshiva shall shalva. He should not seek and desire a life of tranquility. We're talking about Olam Hazeh. Listen, Messianic times, Bezrat Hashem, everything goes smooth. We're not there yet. We're living in this world, which is a world full of illusions. This world is temporary. Afilu be'eretz shelo, even in his own land. Ki'im kemedayer be'daira in Rosh Hashanah. It's interesting. Just the word dira means an apartment. I mean the freedom of movement to live wherever you want. Duror is freedom, and doar. Doar means the ability to move mail, to have commerce. It's also an act of freedom. You don't have a country if you don't have the ability for commerce. You know, in Medina, you don't have a proper government. These are like the freedoms to live wherever you want and to be able to have commerce and move wherever you want. That is what the Talmud describes as freedom. And for some reason, this is beyond us, that Yaakov failed to learn this lesson, but he was taught it, and he eventually learned it. But at this moment, he had not. Therefore, Al Kain, Kofza Olav Ragzo Shel Yosef. This is going to need a lot of explanation. Therefore, what happened? pounced upon him, jumped upon him, sprung up, surprised him. Something called the anger of Yosef. What does the anger of Yosef mean? But that's the terms Chazal use, and we're going to explore what happened. So let me give you a little bit of insight. That Yaakov ends up getting sold. But he doesn't know that. Yosef. Yosef ends up getting sold. But Yaakov doesn't know that. Yaakov doesn't know, really. He doesn't even have closure. He doesn't have closure. So what's going on here? That as soon as he decides, I'm interested now in shalva, in tranquility, Hashem makes sure that doesn't happen. And you know what? It's to all of our benefit. And I'll explain why. Remember that Brit Bein Batarim, the covenant between the parts where God said, you will be a wanderer and your seed will be wanderers in a land that is not yours for 400 years. So there's going to be a redemption at 400 years. If Yaakov had become a permanent resident, those years would not have you couldn't have added them into the 400 years. They would have been passed over. I hope this is clear. And therefore, God forbid, we would have been in Egypt longer. And then we already know, Chazal tell us that we would have spent one more moment in Egypt. We would never have been redeemed because we've sunk so low in idol worship and other types of, I don't even know the words to use, debauchery, is that a word? I don't even know what it means, but it sounds like it fits. Right? It just sounds like it fits. Okay, Davar Acher. I want to tell you that I have learned Davar Acher does not mean scratch everything we've said before. It's another level. So we're going to go deeper. Shkavar Ne'emar LaAvram, in chapter 15, verse 13 of Genesis, it was, right, he said to Abram, you shall surely know that your seed will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and they will enslave them and oppress them for 400 years. Yodea Teda, you will surely know, Ki ger yeh zarecha, that as strangers your seed will be. Okay. Gam Yaakov yesh lo chelek b'priut chol zeh. We take that 400 years into account. Yaakov is part of the 400 years. V'hu bikesh yeshiva shel shava bimkom neguri aviv. And he sought something different. Well, yeah, I'm not sure how to answer your earlier question, but it was somehow different than what his forefathers sought. Ki mishonolad Yitzchak hitkil hagerus. Right? It was from Yitzchak's birth. I know that as a Bible criticism you want to see, it has different times, right? There's a promise that we will be strangers in a strange land 430 years. Another place, 400 years, as we just read. And how long were we actual slaves in Egypt? I mean, I should say, how long did we actually live in Egypt? 210 years. We were only slaves maybe 180, something like 80 years. But you know what? What do you do with those differences here? We weren't there for 210 years. Radu, right? Go down to Egypt. The word Radu is 210. The way we're going to understand it is from the time of Yitzhak's birth. That's exactly 400 years. What do you do with the number 430? That's from the time of the Brit Bein Batarim, the time that God actually made this promise. It was exactly it was 30 years before Yitzhak's birth. Okay? All right. So now we know that. And you ever do Waze, or as they have other, what they call GPS systems. Maybe you use Google Maps. I'm sure there's more than one app. But what happens is when you're told to go a certain way, and you get off the wrong exit, or you pass your exit, it's called recalculating. So Hashem has so much mercy on us. We could have left any time, apparently, right? Whatever that means. We could have ended up being there for 400 full years. But Hashem had mercy. There was a recalculation. Okay? And this is the truth in our own lives. We're not under fate. God knows everything before we do it. There's nothing that He doesn't know we're not going to, but He gives all the possibilities. In front of you, you have so many choices. Your free will is going to allow you to choose, and then hopefully you choose the right choice. If you don't, there'll be a recalculation. Okay, you're going to eventually, right, it says in Pirkei Avot, all Israel goes to the world to come. How's that possible? Except, there are exceptions, of course, it's very evil. Okay, but all Jews are going to end up there. As Rabbi Chesed mentions, that God loves us, He gave us so many mitzvahs. What are mitzvahs? Opportunities to connect to Hashem. That's what He wants. He gave you the opportunities to connect, and then you do it. But He knows we're imperfect, so He gave us plan B. Recalculating, tshuva, you can still return. You have an opportunity to return. So He knows we're not perfect. We're not going to do all the mitzvahs, so we got tshuva. And He knows we're also not all going to do tshuva. So He made plan C. And what's plan C? Suffering. So we're all going to eventually end up in Olam Haba. The question is, how quick, how easy, it's all up to us. We want to take route A, or plan A, Adif, what they call Sug Aleph. So you got it. Mitzvahs. Okay, we do the best we can. If we fail, we got to do tshuva. Plan B, Sug Bet. And then, God forbid, if we fail in that, we always have suffering. And that's up to you how much suffering you want to do. Okay, so back in the text. The last thing we said was when Yitzhak was born, that's when the 400 years, that's when the stranger, the being a stranger began. Avram v'Yitzhak hayu machazikim es atzmam kegerim. Whatever that means, Yitzhak, Yaakov, that they strengthened themselves or they kept themselves as gerim. Hayu nodim umetultalim mimase lamase. Somehow they lived in tents and they kept moving when they needed to move. V'lo yakonim nachlas sodeh v'kerem. The only thing that Abraham bought was a burial place. They didn't buy agricultural land. Okay? V'kol asu kedei l'shalei mehera chov. They all did this. You know why they performed this movement of one encampment to another? In order to pay off as quickly this 400 years, or their part of it. Because ki ger yezerecha, because as a ger, that's how you and your seed will be. Okay, now, what about Esav? Somehow another Esav keeps getting brought up. Bishlama Esav, halach lo el aretz. He went to a new place, which we call Edom, right? He himself is Edom, and he went to a new place. Shapir Kamar, it works out well according to what the verse says. Ein lo chelek b'matana shel eretz. He sold his birthright. He didn't care about Olam Haba. He only cared about Olam Hazeh. This is Rome. This is Western civilization. This is Christianity. Okay. They only cared about this world. V'lo b'frias choiv. They were not interested at all in the birthright. Now, all of a sudden, they have a change of heart. A little bit too late. Kamosha Perish Rashi, Sof Parshas Vayeishev. And you can look at that in chapter 36, verse 6. That is number 6. It says, Esav took his wives, his sons, and his daughters, all the people of his household. Now, we're going to focus on this a little bit later. And his cattle and all his animals and all his property he acquired in the land of Canaan. And where did he go? He went to the Yelech El Eretz. He went to another land because of his brother Yaakov. So he left. He's not interested. He wasn't a ger ba'aretz hazot. Avo Yaakov haya be'eretz Canaan. But Yaakov specifically stayed in this land. He was very much interested in the, I really believe this is the Garden of Eden. I really believe that. You know, when the flood covered the whole world, it didn't affect Eretz Yisrael at all. And why? Because the flood was like a mikveh, right? If you don't know what a mikveh is, like the Christians use baptism. It needed a cleansing, a spiritual cleansing. But Eretz Yisrael didn't need that. Can only imagine. Gan Eden. Of course, it wouldn't need it. And the place that Adam Harishon was created was just over here, around the corner, right? The Har Habayit, the Even Ashtia. And that's where he was created and then placed into the Garden of Eden, which I do not believe is that far from where we are right now. And that's what I mean by having one foot in this world and another foot in the world to come. For those who understand, understand. We're talking about Esav he was not interested in paying off this debt. Ki ger yezerecha, the debt of your seed will be foreigners. Al kain kof to Allah rog shel Yosef. Sorry, now we're talking about Yaakov. Yaakov was inundated by this anger of Yosef. Why? Because he didn't want to fulfill. He wanted to have a yeshiva shel shalva, a life of tranquility. And what happens as soon as Yosef is found to be missing? This man who had prophecy, who was able to be in a state of simcha, lost that ability to have prophecy. He was no longer in a state of simcha for how many years? 22 years. What's 22? What's the importance of 22 years? How long was Yitzhak? How long was who? Yaakov was away from his father Yitzhak for 22 years. This is called Mida Keneged Mida, measure for measure. Okay, this is always how God. You know why God gives us punishment? And I'm going to use the word punishment, but I don't mean that. He gives us a punishment measure for measure because He loves us and He wants us to do tshuva. And the best way of letting you know what you did wrong is through a prophetic message, exactly what you did wrong. So the person who's spiritually awake, who's spiritually in tune, God forbid when he is, I'll use the word awakened instead of punished. As soon as he's awakened by something that's going to shake, rattle, and roll his shalfa, his seeming tranquility. It's not really tranquility, but he thinks he is, and then he'll be able to pick up the message. This is what that's what I did wrong. Now I have the loving message from God, what I need to fix. Okay, so that is a very important lesson. And it was Be'eretz Canaan. V'lo batla miyakov yeshiva shel menucha. If that life of shalva and menucha, of rest and tranquility, had not been removed from Yaakov at that moment, lo hayu yami melu oilim lo lemispa arba meo shana. That those years that he would have experienced tranquility would have been removed from the ongoing ritzuf count, the continuous count of those 400 years, and of course the end result could have been that we would have had to spend more time in Egypt, which then may have resulted we may have never been redeemed. And then the redemption the end would have been delayed for sure. Okay, so now we're in verse 2. Ela toldos Yaakov Yosef. Whoa. I mean, the whole verse doesn't really begin in there. These are the generations of Yaakov when Yosef was 17 years old. But in the Hebrew, all it says is Ela toldos Yaakov Yosef. Right away. These are the generations of Yaakov, and the very next word is Yosef. What do we mean by toldos? Generations. Right? So, let's see. Let's see what the Kli Yakar has to say. The Medrash tells us, Rabbeinu Chazal, Shehaya Yosef doime liYaakov b'kol karotav. Apparently Yosef was, I'll use the word similar, or very much alike in every aspect to Yaakov. V'dome kilu haYosef iker todotav. So much so that if you would ask, out of all his sons, who is his prime progeny, you would guess it was Yosef, for various reasons, but we're going to see some of them. You know that, did Rashi bring that down? He looked exactly like him. You know, later on, he says his father, every time he was about to fall for the wife of Potiphar, he saw his father come to him. And his father kind of gave him the spooky or heebie-jeebies, whatever it is. You know what I think? I think he looked in the mirror. And it came to him the image of his father. But okay. Leave it as it is for now. And the Kli Yakar begins to tell us that he was similar. Midrash says so there. The Medrash is explaining. So the Medrash holds, Medrash Zesoiver, Sherotza Yaakov Letaken Mashalo Kibit et Aviv Kol Hayamim Halalu. That Yaakov, in his own mind, he wanted to make up, he wanted to fix. Remember, we discussed this already. He did not honor his father Yitzchak by staying away for 22 years. Al Kenit Yashe Be'eretz Megurei Aviv. Therefore, he wanted to settle in. So there's a Dan L'Chaschut side. He wanted to make up and fix the fact that he was away. I think you mentioned it. This is like, man, the guy deserves a break already. Right? He was working for 20 years, took 2 years to return, 22 years he's away, he's had troubles, his brother was after him. Gosh, the guy deserves a break. So he wanted to make up like a permanent residence to make up for the missing years. V'chashav ki b'zeh yutakem gam ha'avar. The problem is, you really can't make up, right? He thought maybe this would make up also for the past. Maybe it could make up for the future, but maybe even for the past. And therefore, he really sought le'eshe b'shalva, to be able to dwell in a permanent, peaceful way. Al kain kafza Allah ragzo shel Yosef. Therefore, this anger of Yosef, we'll have to discuss what that means. Something related to Yosef, some type of anger, jumped. Lekabel oynesh gamal hayamim hashalo ha'avi mechubad mibeno she'ikar zaro. In order to receive this punishment, also for the days where he did not honor his father, the son did not honor his father, who happened to be the Ikar Zara. We just got done saying, Eila told us Yaakov, Yosef. Yosef is the prime progeny of Yaakov. Kemispar hayamim hahem Yaakov bilti mechubad mibeno she'ikar told us shalom. Therefore, what's going to happen in result, Yaakov's own son is going to disappear from him for 22 years. And that's why it says, Eila todos Yaakov Yosef. Okay, and we will continue. Masha Amar, Kafsa Olav Rigsa, Ragso Shel Yosef. We haven't really defined what this anger of Yosef is that was jumped upon Yaakov, that all of a sudden, Pitom, happened to Yaakov. So the Kliyakar asks, what exactly is the language of Kafsa? Anybody with small kids at any time in their life knows. They're like kfitzim, mamish like a spring. They're mamish jumpy, right? Jumpy. Especially if your kids have ADD or ADHD. Anyway, so maybe all kids are like that. You know what the Torah could have said? Bo liyodo, or the Medrash, Bo liyodo inyono shel Yosef. You know, all of a sudden, well, I said all of a sudden, just came upon him the whole story of Yosef. That would have been fine. But we're talking about kofza, jumping, and we're talking about rogez, anger. So the next question is, malash and ragzu. What exactly is this language? Rogez, when we see kids, hopefully it's only kids and they're going to learn not to do that again, but they get mad, they get angry, they get upset with people. So, lama yichesh rogez liyosef. First of all, what's the kofza, and what's the rogez, and what is it relating to Yosef? Why exactly is this anger relating to Yosef? So the Kliyakar is going to now explain from his point of view, Hakarove Elai Lomar Bezeh, that the Rogesh Shel Yosef is the sin of Yosef. Okay, so he had his own pekalach to worry about. Hashem might have made him forget to get in touch with his father when he changed. Right? We saw that when he named his son Menashe. He admitted, God caused me to forget. But here we're talking about Yosef himself did a sin. What was the sin of Yosef? Besides looking in the mirror too much for a guy. You're laughing, right? Okay, so I think I do have, I don't want to jump too much in front, but if you look at Genesis 37:2, I'm sorry, yeah. Is that it? Look at the last part of the verse. And Yosef brought evil tales about them to their father. So what are we talking about here? I do believe that I have something underlined. Is that where it is? I have a lot underlined here. Let's just see some of this part of Rashi. When Yaakov sought to dwell in tranquility, the troubles of Yosef sprang upon him. The righteous seek to dwell in tranquility. Said the Holy One, blessed be He. What is prepared for the righteous in the world to come is not sufficient for them, but they seek also to dwell in tranquility in this world. In other words, I prepared such a beautiful world for you. Why do you want to stay here? Why do you want to have tranquility here? It's not right. That's from God's point of view. Evil tales about them. Any evil he saw in his brothers, such as the sons of Leah, he would tell his father. He would say they ate limbs from living animals. Now, isn't that forbidden according to the 7 Noachide laws? Ever since of Noach, when man was permitted to eat meat. So, ready for this? Everything that we're about to read, he saw from his own perspective, and it wasn't right the way he saw it. Meaning, he didn't see it right. He didn't see it correctly. Do you know that if you open up the womb of a pregnant animal, like in other words, you do a C-section while the mother's still alive, and even if you check the mother first. Let's say you check the mother. Let's be humane. And that's actually the halacha. So let's scratch everything I said until now about that. So you check the mother, and you open up the womb, and you find a baby. That baby does not need to be shechted. You can eat the limb, so to speak, off the live animal, because it doesn't need to be shechted. Meaning you can kill it any way you want. Not that you're going to chas v'shalom be cruel, but if you don't shecht it the way we're required to shecht it, it's not a problem. It's not kosher, because it's considered already dead. It's like a limb of its mother. The mother has been killed. You open up and you find the baby is alive. The baby can grow up, and you can just shoot it in the head. I'm just using that as an example. Or let's say you shecht it and it wasn't kosherly shechted, some mistake, one of the 5 things you're not supposed to do, it's not treif, it's kosher, because it's already dead. So anyway, this is what he saw them do. He didn't realize that it was that type of animal. He saw them not kill it kosherly, is that a word? And he went ahead and the brothers ate from such an animal, and he went back and told his dad that they're eating limbs from live animals. They demeaned the sons of the handmaids by calling them slaves, meaning the sons of Leah called the other brothers basically sons of slaves. And he went back and told his father. But I don't know the whole story here, I have to apologize, but the truth is, even the Torah itself goes back and forth. Sometimes they're wives, sometimes they're handmaids. It's not consistent. And they were suspected of illicit sexual relations. For these 3 tales he was punished. He went back, here it goes. The report that his brothers ate limbs from living animals, such as they slaughtered a kid in Genesis 37:31. It wasn't a kid, but it was so therefore when they sold him measure for measure, they did not eat it alive. They sold him. They also put the blood on this jacket. Okay. What about the report that he told about them and they called their brothers slaves? In the end, Yosef. So in other words, he talked about eating the limb off a live animal, and he ends up being, let's say, tossed out to the wolves, so to speak, with this bloody garment. Here you have, he spoke about them calling the other brothers slaves, and he himself was ended up sold as a slave, and he spoke about their possible illicit sexual relationships, and then he's in the position where this woman is coming after him, chasing after him for an illicit relationship. Okay, so this was all was called a gossip or slander, and that's what diba here means. Okay, so let's go back into the text, the kliyakar. We called it the chet shel Yosef, some kind of sin. Asher bo hirgiz lelohim, which angered Hashem, right? The only thing that's going to anger Hashem is sin. B'mesheh hevi dibosam ra. He spoke evil about the brothers, El Achiv, Ech shekorim achehem avodim. How the brothers called the other brothers slaves. Ad shahaya hadin noiten shle'evin mimcha Yosef. Until the end, Yosef himself is sold as a slave. And you can see this in Psalms 105, verse 17, where it says Yosef was sold as a slave. What does it mean? He sent a man before him. What does it mean he sent a man before him? And God sent me before you. Now, who is the man? Yosef. Im kein af im lo haya Yaakov mevakesh leishe b'shalva. If you want to say, if that's the case, even if Yaakov had not sought a life of tranquility, nevertheless, he would have been punished anyway for the sin. Maybe this also helps us. Shiroi Laval Yosef, other types of punishment because he was a sinner. Zulat Yosef ben Sheva Esrei Shana. Did you know this? That a 17-year-old is not punished from heaven. In other words, once a boy turns 13, a girl turns 12, in Beis Din in this world, he can be convicted if you have witnesses. Any sin that he did where there were witnesses that it's against another human being, so then he will be responsible. But what about sins between him and God? God has mercy on, I'll call puberty or growing up or whatever it is, and we can understand it. I mean, all ourselves, everyone here in this room has gone through adolescence, right? And that's a really tough time in life. Who are you? Where am I going? Am I righteous? Am I not going to be righteous? Right? The choices that we have are really significant at that age. Could really change our whole direction for the rest of our lives. Correct? Okay. So Hashem has a lot of mercy and allows you to make those mistakes and won't hold you in heaven accountable. So until you're 20. So Yosef was 17. So on one hand, we know that he was 17. He's only going to be held accountable in this world, but in the world, in the upper worlds, when it comes to judgment, he is excused. Let's say. Well, is that a chiddush to a lot of people sitting here? Amazing. Lefish nitchaber leragzo v'cheto shel Yosef gama shebikesh Yaakov liyesha b'shalva. So there's going to be a connection. This is like a piece of Gemara here. He needed both aspects here. What does it mean? That there's the rogez, the anger, somehow connected. We're talking about Yaakov, the anger that somehow is connected with Yosef, and his own sin of Yosef, for the fact, connecting it to Yaakov's request to have a life of peace. What does that mean? Alkein miher Hashem. That's why the word kafza is used. There's this immediacy, there's this quickness, that also liyosef bar onashin kodem zmano, that even though Yosef should not have been punished because he was only 17, God, I think they call this like in America, if let's say you're less than 18 and you do a crime that only like an 18-year-old, they call it, you can be certified as an adult, right? You're really like 16 years old, and you did such a, I don't know, horrible crime that they have given, it's not the first time, maybe you have a whole record, and they certify you as an adult. So too here, he was going to be certified as an adult in Hashem's eyes. He quickly upped the age, so to speak, or lessen the age in this case, as a bar onshin, as a person who's now punishable before his time. And that's what it means, kafzo alav, that God sprang upon Yosef, even though Yosef really shouldn't have been punished at 17. He did something, we'll see, that he deserved this punishment. Ki kol kfitza moyer al davar shirui lavo al kol panim umamaher lavo kodem zmano. That's what it means to jump ahead, right? It reflects, it teaches something that's fitting to come, but nevertheless, it comes quicker. Therefore, we saw that God really desired to bring this punishment to Yosef before its time. The combination, he was saving the Jewish people from such hardships, right? That's why because Yaakov had sought this shalva, the peace, And of course, we know the results from that would have been disastrous for us as well. V'hava garma. So both, it was both Yaakov's sin, Yosef's sin, and Yaakov's together. Ki oyne Yosef levad lo yaspik. The actions of Yosef were not enough to bring this on, but with the combination of how it was going to benefit all the Jewish people much later, the combination really did us good. Ki lo haya baronshi. Remember, he wasn't 20. V'yeshivato shel Yaakov levad, and even the tranquility of Yaakov was not enough either. Gam kein lo yaspik lahavi ba'avor ze onesh shel Yosef shalchet. So now we understand why it's called the Roge shel Yosef, at least, because it's the anger of the sin, the onish was jumped, and it ended up reflecting Yaakov himself. Rashi made the mashal. Rashi brings an analogy. L'marga lichem naflu ben achol. Now it's a very long Rashi. The main point is at the end, but I'll try to go through it quite quickly. When it says in the beginning of the parsha that Yaakov settled in the land that his father sojourned, so what was talked about before? Esav. But very little is spoken about Esav. It's like you quickly went over it, as if it wasn't very important. Hey, it's not just Esav that's not very important. You see all the generations. Adam all the way to Noach, and then Noach is spoken about a little bit, and then there's almost a rush to Abraham. So that's what he says. He says, after Scripture has written for you the settlings of Esav and his offspring in a very concise manner, very short, Derek Katsara, for they were not treasured by God or held in esteem. So we didn't need to explain too much except where they settled, or just to give a short account of their battles. There would be, or how they dispossessed the Horite. But you know what? The Torah goes out of its way to explain to you the settlings of Yaakov and his offspring in a very lengthy manner. All the turns of events which caused them for Yaakov and his children are very important before Hashem, to dwell at length about them. Similarly, you'll find regarding the 10 generations from Adam to Noach, and so on. Scripture dwelt at length about him, about Noach. Similarly, regarding the 10 generations from Noach to Abraham. Scripture was very brief about them, but once it got to Abraham, it went at length. Now ready, this is the mashal that he wanted us to hear. This can be compared to a pearl that fell into the sand. You ever be at the beach and you lost, I don't know, God forbid, something valuable? So the person feels around the sand, he might get a sieve, sifts in the sifter until he finds the pearl. And once he finds it, what does he do? Throws all the rest of the pebbles away. They don't mean anything to you. But he takes the pearl. And that is, now there's an alternative mashal, and I think it's worth going through. What does it mean Jacob settled? So let's say there was a certain flax merchant whose camels entered the town laden with flax. So the blacksmith wondered, where can all this flax be stored? Now flax is very flammable, apparently. There was a clever fellow who said to him, one spark can go forth from your bellows, which will burn it all up. So too Yaakov saw all the chieftains of Esav, whose names are written above, meaning just previously, the page before, and he wondered, who could conquer all of them? He wondered and said, who can conquer all of them? What is written further about the chieftains of Esav? Nothing. These are the offspring of Jacob, and right away Yosef. And what do we know? And we read it when? In Obadiah, last Shabbos. Right? The whole book, the whole prophecy of Obadiah, who, by the way, is the only prophet who is a convert himself. All prophets are sons of prophets. Okay? Obadiah was the only convert. Anyway, it says here in Obadiah that the house of Jacob shall be like fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. And what do we know about the house of Esav? He will be like that straw that will go up in flame. A spark shall go forth from Yosef, which will annihilate and burn up all of them. Okay, so we're basically saying goodbye to Esav. Now, the truth is, not all negative prophecies have to happen. We believe that there will be a remnant. The question is who? Who amongst Esav will do tshuva? Right? We know that the Torah tells us that Ishmael himself did tshuva. So many masses, the masses of the Islamites, Ishmaelites, are probably going to do tshuva. But who amongst the Rome, the Western civilization, is going to do tshuva? So that's where free will comes in. That's up to you. Okay. So here we are at the last paragraph. We read the Mashal. And it's Himshil base Esav L'chol. Ubeis Yaakov Ela Margalit. Okay, we read that already. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes to Esav, it says that what? There were 6 souls in his family, 6 persons. And yet, if you look in chapter 36, verse 6, which if you look in note number 6, I mentioned before, it says all the people of his household. But look in the Hebrew. It says kol nefashot, all the peoples of his household. The word nefashot is plural. When it comes to Israel, to Yaakov, it calls him shivim nefesh, 70 soul. That's a little weird, right? 70 soul. It reminds me, let's just read the clear cards take, and then I'll tell you what I want to say. So when it comes to Esav, Kori Mosum Nefashos, calls them souls, Lashon Rabbi. Lefisha Oivdim Leilahois Harbe, because they're serving many gods, therefore they have many souls. However, when it comes to Yaakov, Shivim Nefashos Hayalo, but the verse in Exodus chapter 1, verse 1, verse 5 says Koroisim Nefesh, 70 souls. So I want to tell you, there was a famous story. A heretic comes to one of the sages in the Gemara and he says, is it not written in your Torah that you're supposed to follow the majority rules? We all know that when a Sanhedrin sits down, there's an uneven amount, right? Whether there's 3 in a regular Beis Din, 23 or 71 in the ultimate highest court, that we go after the majority, okay? We follow the majority. The Torah tells us follow the majority. Follow the majority of the rabbis. Okay? Follow the majority. So he asked, if that's the case, you have Christianity, you have Islam, you have Buddhism, you got, what else you got? Hinduism, I don't know, a bunch of other religions out there. They're bigger than you, right? Why don't you follow the majority? Why do you follow your Torah? Your Torah itself says follow the majority. You're not following your own Torah. How would you answer it? So the sage answers and says, here, you might have 6 souls over there in Esav, right? They all have a different God. They all have a different religion. You know, within Christianity, you have like 80,000 denominations. And then out of those 80,000 denominations, you got subgroups. Yeah. When it comes to the Jews, that's why it's all a fallacy. There's no such thing as Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox. There's no such thing. There's just Jews. And any believing Jew, they all, even the non-believing, they all know that the Torah is true, right? They all know if you ask them, right? I'm not talking about the real ignorant, evil ones. I'm talking about the majority of Jews. They all know there's 613 commandments, there's just one Torah, right? That we came out of Egypt, right? They know that. They have their own challenges with God, right? But they all know there's only one religion, really. It's not, so anyway, when we talk about following the majority, there's 16 million of one group. We're all brothers, we're all blood, we're all one. So it's only one religion. And then you look at the Christians and say, oh, there's 1.2 or 1.5 or whatever billion. No, there's like almost like 1.5 billion different religions. Everyone's got their own God, their own whatever, little statue and whatnot. Okay, so that reminds me of that. I wanted to mention that. So here, he says, when it comes to Yaakov, it's called Nefesh, one soul. All of Israel is one soul. Lefisha oidim le'el echad. We're only serving one God. Ad kan lashona. That's the end of the medrash. From the fact that they serve many gods, al kemitzui behem tamid hamariva. That's why you find amongst them so many different groups that don't get along. Ve'enon v'haskama achas. They don't have one agreement. There's 80 different types of Christianity. Mitzad riboy hadatot, from the many different subgroups of religions. Ve'enon what's that word? Mitachadim u'mitchabrim. They're not unified, nor are they connected. Kechol, just like the mashal said, like the sand and the pebbles. It's not one glump, of anything. Kechol zeh she'enu mitchaber zeh lezeh. The sand does not all connect to each other. I guess maybe if lightning strikes, right? Okay. Aval Yisrael, when it comes to Jewish people, mitzat she'odim le'el echad, the very fact that we all serve only one God. Hashalom mitavek benehem. Ultimately, there is peace amongst us. It's like when you think about the pearls that are on a stringed pearls. If you do it right, my mother was a jeweler. You hear this, Mom? I'm mentioning you. You have a knot between each one of the pearls. Okay? If, God forbid, it came off, they wouldn't lose all the pearls. Right? That's how it should be done. Right? So here, you're talking about the Jewish people are like a necklace, a thread of pearls. And we're all connected through one chut. We're all mamish. Do you know that every time I do a mitzvah, you get credit? Right? We're all in this together. And God forbid, every time someone does a sin, we all are held responsible. Okay? And I want to go even further. Maybe you heard this before. We've talked about this. When a Jew has in mind to do a mitzvah and doesn't do it for some reason, the car broke down or something else came up, he wanted to do it and something prevented him from doing it, he gets credit. Did you know that? Now wait till you hear this. The Jew who's not religious and doesn't even have kavanah to do mitzvahs, but does them, maybe out of rote, maybe out of habit, maybe even for selfish reasons. He wants to have his name on a building. His mitzvah, it's a mitzvah, but he's almost behind in credit because he didn't have in mind. But this other Jew who wanted to do it but didn't have the money, he gives whatever money he can. No, I'm sorry, he doesn't have the money, so he wants to do it and gets credit for not doing it because he didn't have the money to do it. It's combined, it's connected with the Jew, the secular Jew, who had the money and didn't have the right kavanah. Together, we're all in this together. We're all going to benefit. You heard this before? Unbelievable. It's really a fantastic idea. And that's where I want to end on this piece. He brings down Song of Songs, Kechut Hashani Siftotayich, right? About the sincerity of your lips. Siftei das v'Torah hamarabim shalom ba'olam. The more we speak Torah, the more we're involved in Torah, the more we increase peace in the world as a chut that is stringed with pearls. Now with this, before we start part 2, I want to mention for those who have had enough, we love you, I'm kidding, it's never enough, that we just wish you a Shabbat Shalom, we welcome you to Torah, and we ask you at this point to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that when new videos come up, you will be notified. And with that, we will now proceed with part 2. Okay, welcome to Home2Torah at the Yiboneh Beit Midrash. It's almost Hanukkah, so we are going to deal with some aspects of the Kli Yakar's explanation on Parshat Vayeishev, which you can find in Numbers chapter 8, in the very beginning. It says, Balosecha es haneros el mul pnei hamenorah. Right? Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you light the lamps, the 7 lamps shall cast their light toward the face of the menorah. So in Hebrew, Daber el Aaron v'yamarto elav, Bahalosecha es haneros el mul pnei menorah, Ye'iru shivas haneros. Now let me explain the verse a little bit in the context of what the Kli Yakar is going to enlighten us with. The word Bahalosecha is a language of aliyah, going upwards. But it's not a command. So we have to face the fact that it's not a command. And what does it mean towards the face of the menorah? What does it mean the face of the menorah? If you have a menorah here and the lights are on top, how can it be towards the face of the menorah? And it says Ye'iru. Now Ye'iru is also not a command, but you would think it would be that you shall make them 7 candles that will illuminate. Now, if the command is on candles, candles cannot be commanded, right? Inanimate objects cannot be commanded. So we'll have to deal with that. Something else, just for the context, is this Parsha, Va'alosecha, immediately follows what? Just turn the pages back in Parshas Naso. You have what we call Chanukah's HaMizbeach. What do you hear in the word? Dedication of the altar. The dedication of the altar was performed by whom? By the 12 tribes, by the leaders of the 12 tribes. They were giving gifts to whom? To Hashem, so to speak. They were making offerings and bringing gifts towards the temple, okay? For what? As an appreciation for the altar. Why were only 12? How many tribes do we have? We have 13 tribes. Depends how you count them, correct? If you count Yosef and Levi, you have 12 tribes. But if you don't count Yosef, count Menashe and Ephraim, who were elevated. They were elevated by Hashem. Yaakov was told to elevate them to the level of tribes. So if you count Levi and Menashe and Ephraim, you have 13 tribes. So usually they count Menashe and Ephraim and not Levi, or they count Yosef and they count Levi. We usually end up with 12 tribes being counted. But in reality, there are 13 tribes, right? Okay. With that in mind, which tribe did not bring any offerings to the Chanukah's HaMizbeach? The tribe of Levi, i.e. the Kohanim, right? The Kohanim are part of the tribe of Levi. So Aaron is like the prince here, right? He's from the tribe of Levi who got elevated to the level of the high priest. So he's representing them on a certain level as the other princes are bringing things. Okay, he's not the actual prince, but nevertheless, he has a feeling of neglect, perhaps? What would you say? All the tribes are bringing, and he's the high priest who does most of the work in the temple, and he's not bringing anything? So he's a little, I'm going to think of a word, despondent, down, confused. And God says, I got something better for you. Now this is going to sound very strange, what I'm about to tell you. How is God going to lift his spirit? He's going to say, I got something better. What's better than korbanos? Do you know that the lighting of the menorah is of greater value on some level, okay, than the korbanos? Are you surprised that I'm saying this, or you can't wait to hear the answer? Okay. I'll give you a little hint. When the Beis HaMikdash, God forbid, was destroyed, so you don't have korbanos. But you don't have the menorah either, do you? Do you? No, we don't have the menorah of the Beis HaMikdash. But there's another menorah that we do have. Okay, with that in mind, let's go and sink our teeth into the Kliyakar. So we just read the first verse, and Huksha el Hamaforshim, that many of the commentators ask, Me'achash pnei menorah hainu ner hemtzai. You were in the bathroom when we discussed this, sorry. What exactly does it mean, el pnei hamenorah? So Rashi tells us it's the ner ha'emtzai. What do you mean? So if the ner ha'emtzai is where all the lights have to be facing, how many lights are facing the ner ha'emtzai? 6. 3 on each side, facing the middle, facing facing the face, right? Towards the menorah, towards the middle of the menorah. If that's the case, Rashi clearly says it's the emtzai. Look at, where do we see it in Rashi? It's in the middle, on page 1, right? In number 2, Rashi on the verse, toward the face of the menorah, toward the middle lamp, which is not one of the branches, but on the menorah itself. So it is. Okay. So Hashish Pinu Mula Shvi. So what it should have said was 6. Why does it say 7? Right, the verse says, 7 lamps shall cast their light toward the face of the menorah. Is everyone with me? Something's wrong here in the text. This is like, we can't go to sleep tonight, correct? Until we figure this all out. If it's towards the face of the menorah, which is the middle lamp, then surely the Torah should have said 6 towards the middle, right? If the middle lamp is the face, why does it say 7? Don't worry, we're going to answer tonight, B'ezrat Hashem. V'omer ani. Now, I'm going to kind of skip through this next line. Shemaimar elmeno pnei menorah koi ashalamala v'lo kasha midei. He's claiming at this point that if it says, from the fact that it says towards the face of the menorah, it's going on something that was said previously, and then there shouldn't be any problem at all. And now we're going to investigate what that means. Shalom etzinu pasuk zeshum tzivoy. If you look at this verse carefully, there is no command. It says when you light the lamps. It doesn't say you shall light the lamps. He says sharei lo lomar tadlikein o ta'alein. Those would be command forms. When you ignite or when you raise up. El mu pnei menorah. It doesn't. It says b'halosecha. When you are raising them up. Gam yi'iru, even the word shall illuminate, eino tzivoy. We're talking about the candle shall illuminate. It's not a command either. Kim ein tzivoy leneros. You can't command a non-animate object. Correct? And furthermore, what does it mean in the verse when it says, so we didn't read the whole verse, we read that verse, but the next verse says, look at number 4 in the source sheet. It says Numbers 8, chapter 8, verse 3. Aaron did so. Why does it have to tell me the Yasa ken Aaron? Why would we ever think that Aaron wouldn't do what God says to do? My rebuse. What is it coming to add? Umi kamohu make him davar Hashem. Who's like Aaron? Who's like this guy who would fulfill the word of God? He would jump 1,000,000 miles. Just tell me how high. This guy follows the word of God like meticulously, right? Why would we think anything different? Umay shivcho shaloshina. Why are we praising him for not changing the word of God? So he did exactly like God said. First of all, it wasn't even commanded. Maybe that's going to be part of the answer. It wasn't even commanded, and he did it. Where would we ever have thought that he would have changed the word of God? This is going to be very important. This is going to be a common theme. God did not ask us to put a menorah inside the tent of meeting into the temple for light. We don't need light. We talked about this before. The place of the mikdash, light itself emanates from there. Remember, we talked about the windows. The windows in a normal building, people build buildings, then they have thick walls. They want to draw the light in, and the windows would extend in on the inside, much wider, and on the outside, a little bit narrower. In the base of Mikdash, they started out narrow and went out because light emanated from this place. That's what we talked about a few weeks ago with the dream of Yaakov and the setting of the sun 2 hours early, because he was in a place that was so light that when the sun goes over, the sun dims. Okay? We're talking about a spiritual light. Okay? So, furthermore, it's very important to teach us it's not for the sake of light. And it's for this very reason, instead of pointing outwards, if you have a candelabra, remember we have wicks, if you point the wicks out, that would illuminate the room. But if all the wicks are towards the center, that's going to be less light emanating. So he wanted everyone to know, it's not for light. I don't need light. This light, I emanate the light, not the menorah. And this is going to be a very important lesson. Lahotzi milev hatoyim. There are going to be people out there who will make mistakes like this. Okay. Aval mikol makom lo ratzu litzavos al zeh. Nevertheless, there's no command. God did not actually command. What? Shiyad likein mul pnei menorah. It's not a command that they should be lit facing the middle. Ki lo yita bezeh ki im ish shoge upesi. The only person that will make a mistake. God did not make the command because why make a command for stupid and ignorant and foolish people? V'chi mibnei hashoitim shel kilkolu yitzah b'mitzvah pratiyot. For stupid and simple people, you need to make a command. Ach Amar Hashem derech hodah, but rather God only informed us. He just wanted to let us know something very simple. By what? Saying, Hinene modiyecha mireshit davar achrit davar. You'll only understand what I mean when you hear. Well, I can tell you in the beginning, and you'll understand the end. It says in the beginning, Ba'aloisecha, when you light these neros, these candles, that are going to end up being towards the face of the menorah, meaning towards the middle. Says the Medrash says, so that people will not make this mistake, with the mistake of thinking that it's necessary for light. As Af Aniyah says that God says, even I, just like you're going to do this, I'm also going to do this. What am I going to do? I am going to cause these 7 candles to light forever. What 7 candles are we talking about? They will never be extinguished, and they will be before me always, says Hashem. Now, inferred in this, there is a negative commandment, one of the 613 commandments, which is, you're not supposed to put them out. Now, if it didn't go up, if the wicks were not placed to the middle, so what you're doing is you're allowing makom l'toyim lomar. You're allowing people to make a mistake that they're going to think it was for the light. As lo yiru klal shivas haneros. Then God, in return, this is a very subtle point. God is asking us to make sure that everyone knows that it's not for physical light that you have the menorah, but it's for spiritual light. And I, God, will in turn repay you with a spiritual light, with a menorah that will last forever. In Aidei Churban Avayis, that when the destruction, when there is no longer a temple, Hem Shegam Bayosim Binyano Shel Lo Yiru V'Lo Yitzhir Ziv Uram, that God forbid, right, when there's no temple, that you will not have that in whatever. Let's say it like this: Shegam Bayotu Binyano, in the temple that's no longer there, there will not be a light, an illumination, and there won't be any shine of their lights. Gam li, gam lecha lo yeh. It sounds like he's saying also, I nor you, nothing will be. But guess what? V'sui lefarish, that is an assistant to explain this. Look at what the Medrash says. Shenismechu haneros lechanuchas hamizbeach. What did I do in the introduction? I mentioned that this Parshas Ba'alosecha follows immediately after the dedication of the altar. Lefish, and its tire Aaron. Aaron experienced some uncomfortability, some despondence. By the fact that he did not participate in bringing gifts. I got something better in store for you, prepared for you. Harkarbanos einan kim bizman shebeis hamikdash kayam. When it comes to actual offerings to Hashem, these will only be when there's a Beis Hamikdash standing. Veneros hein leolam. But these candles will be forever. As it says, El mul pnei menorah yi'iru shivas haneros. Against the middle, let's just say the wicks are going to go toward the middle, shall illuminate 7 neros. We already know that doesn't make any sense. There's only 6 that are going to, 3 on each side. Yet the words are, the 7 will be illuminated. So look at the Yilkut, Nosach Midrash Zeh, and he says, look right and left. Look right and see. V'hebit yamin urei. My mashma shaneros him leolam mi pasuk zeh. How do you see in this verse? We're talking about Hanukkah if we're going to be leading into Hanukkah, it's a rabbinic holiday. This is the Torah. This is a book of prophecy. I have to admit, it's a book of prophecy, but it's the Torah. Where do you have rabbinic? I want to tell you a secret. Every rabbinic dictum, every one, is based on some asmachta, some remez, some hint in the Torah. Okay, you don't find, even the Gemara asks, where do you see the book of Esther? Where do you see Haman? Where do you see Mordechai? Right? Where do you, that's what the Gemara goes through. How do you know? This is what God really wants. The rabbis, the Sanhedrin, they came and they said some decree, some fascinating gezerah, but there's always an asmachta, there's always something to rely on and lean on. So too, we're going to have here. And just have to find my place. Here we are. So where does it infer that these candles will be forever from this verse? So Elavadai Shabbat Medrazeh Kavana Lefarish Pasuk Zaba in this way. She'im Ta'ale Osemu Pnei Menorah, that if you, the Kohanim, if you do what I just said to do, that if you end up letting them go up, lighting the candles towards the middle, Az Yesa She'iru Shivas Haneros Le'olam, Af Bezman HaChorban, then I, God, will turn around, measure for measure, and I will make sure those 7 candles will be forever, even when the temple is no longer standing. And the Ramban asked a question on this medrash. Behold, at the time of the Karbanos or Batul, right, when the temple is destroyed, Gam Haneros Betelim, at least the Neros we're talking about in the base of Mikdash, they're no longer. Al came perish. Therefore, the Ramban says, Al Neros Kashmanai. We're talking about the Maccabees, the candles, Uvanav and their sons. That's what we're talking about. The Kashaliyah, the Varav, the Kliyakar has a problem with that. And what's his problem? He says also the Neros of the Chashmanai. Very nice. In the beginning, or middle of the Second Temple period, you had the Chashmanayim. But guess what? It took what? It was, let's see, Matchila Bitlu Shneim Ke'echad. In the beginning, you had neither. You had neither Karbanos, meaning before the Chashmanayim, when the Greeks took over, and you had no pure temple. You had no Karbanos, and you had no candles. So there's a time where you have neither. The Karbanos and the Neros were both not being implemented. The Kasher Nocha Shachta, but when peace came, when the wars had quieted down, Shalachach Lo Raya Min Chashmanoy Banav, and you're able to take proof from the Maccabees and their sons, Sheyesh Yoter Kedusha Beneros Miber Karbanos. Then actually you could say that there was more holiness in the candles than the Karbanos. Why? Why? Because when they returned with a miracle. Which ones? The candles. There was no miracle by the Karbanos. When we entered, then we found the Pach Shemin that had this Kohen Gadol seal, and it was enough to last 8 days. It was only enough to last 1 day, but yet it lasted 8 days. That's what we call a miracle. So when we came in and rededicated the temple, there was a miracle that occurred with the oil, but there was no miracle that occurred with the Karbanos. So that's the first proof. I'll read it again. Sharei b'chazaratam lo na'aseh shum nes b'karbanos u'beneros na'aseh nes. Al ken kibel Aaron tanchumin. Therefore, we're talking about now at the time of the original dedication. Aaron received some type of comfort. Al halachas haneros, because God told him the neros are more special than the karbanos. Shehi gedolim min karbanos. They're greater. And what it says, the karbanos einan kim bizman beis hamikdash kayam, that the karbanos, the offerings, are only going to exist when you have a temple. V'neros le'olam, but the candles will be forever. This is what God told him, and he was comforted. Kak perusho ha-karbanos, when it comes to the offerings, afal pishay behem eish min hashamayim, even though fire came down from heaven in the first temple. In the second temple, fire did come down from heaven, but didn't reach the ground. There were 10 open miracles in the first temple, and 5 of them were missing in the second temple. Vayunes niglu umasmit. So in the first temple, you had an open and revealed, I shouldn't say just temple, we're talking about the Mishkan as well, that this was a completely open, revelatory, and constant miracle. Nevertheless, after the first temple was destroyed, Shuvlo Yored Eish. The Eish did not descend all the way. We know in Gemara Yuma 21b that it describes the difference between the first temple and the second temple, and one of the differences was the fire coming down from heaven for burning up on the altar the karbanos. Kedushas haneros, but the holiness. So there was a big difference when it came to the karbanos. The fire didn't come directly from heaven and burn up the karbanos, but when it came to the candles, the holiness of the candles was never removed. Lo sora leolam. Even though the temple was destroyed twice. Achas b'meinu b'Chenetzer, the first Beis Hamikdash by this Babylonian Nebuchadnezzar, v'achas b'Antiochus, and the Greek general Antiochus, nevertheless, during the second temple, there was a miracle that took place with the candles, and this is going to reflect on us how great, or the attribute of the Neros had an aspect that was greater than the Karbanos. V'nirlo kikach bi'ur katuv. The way to understand the verse was when it says "Baloisecha es haneros el mul pnei menorah," in the raising up of the candle across or facing the middle, right? Facing the menorah. Lo titein makom letoim lomar. He's going to go back to the same thing that people make the mistake. Lo oira hu tzarich, that it was all for the light of God. That God needs light. Hine legoida kedushas haneros ania sezos. No, it's the other way around. God says like this: for the greatness of the holiness of the candles, because you did it right, I am going to ya'iru, I am going to make sure that there's this illumination of 7 candles forever. Even at the time that even in a time that you only have enough oil to light 1 candle, I am going to make sure that 7 additional candles are lit. Hine al tzad hanes, by way of miracle, Ani aseh sheyiru kol shivas haneros b'nei chashmonai. I'm going to make sure that all 7 candles will be lit, or 7 days, additional days will be lit, by the time of the Maccabees. V'zechronam lo yasuf mitoch b'nei Yisrael, and their remembrance, the Chashmonai, the Hasmoneans, their remembrance will never be forgotten by the Jewish people forever. L'dorei doros. Avalim lo talemu pnei menorah. But if you, the Jewish people, at the time we have the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and the temple, if you don't do as I'm suggesting, by pushing the wicks towards the middle, as lo yiru leolam, then I will not in return bring this eternal remembrance. Ki lo aseh behem nisim hamufursamim. And I'm not going to create this wonderful, full-blown public miracle. Now, in order that the people who make these mistakes of thinking that God needs the light, in order that they won't say, remember, that's their claim, it's all because God needs the light. No, this is what God wants us to know. We're going to light the candles 8 nights, right? 8 nights. And what is the idea? It's so deep. So many deep ideas. Just this one little idea. God is the light of the world. Okay, we're going to talk about the soul of man is the lamp of God. Okay, we're going to talk about this shortly. I want you to know, God is like the best general, right? You think about a general who goes out to war, he never leaves anybody behind. God does not leave any Jew behind. We talk about a pintel yid, it means the spark within every one of us. I want you to know, when it comes to a lot of the halachot of Hanukkah, we have a mezuzah on the right side. We put where? The Hanukkah on the left side of the doorway. The left is inferior, right? The right is mercy, the left is din. We think of the left as being inferior, okay? Not only that, it's 10 tefachim high. It says that God doesn't even go down 10 tefachim, right? Wherever there's different reshus, different domains, He doesn't go down less than 10 tefachim, yet we put our menorah exactly on the line. Okay? Truth is, between 3 and 10 tefachim. Less than 3 tefachim, it's already connected to the ground and there's no hope. That's as far as you can go. Hashem doesn't leave anybody behind. He'll lift you up. He'll take that spark that is what? The most inferior of wicks and oils. When it comes to Shabbos, you have to use the best. Because, God forbid, you're reading by them, which you're not supposed to, and it starts flickering, so you might move the oil lamp. You're not allowed to ignite a fire on Shabbat, right? It says clearly in the Torah, although it's only one of the 39 other malachot. You're not allowed to ignite a fire, so you're reading by the lamp, and it starts flickering, and you don't want to mess up, so with reading, so you go and mess up even worse with moving the lamp, so the wick can catch more oil, so you tilt it. Well, you just violated a major commandment in the Torah. So they say, when it comes to Shabbos, use the best wicks, the best oils, so you don't come to make this kind of mistake. Shabbos, on Hanukkah, of course, it's preferred to use olive oil. But when it comes to wicks, any wick will do. And the truth is, any oil will do. Okay? So why is it by Hanukkah? Because God is telling you in the darkest moments, right? This is beginning of the Second Temple period. We're going to be losing prophecy. We had just lost prophecy. This is it. We're going into a dark, dark abyss, right? We're going to be experiencing the Roman exile, which we're still in till this day, right? It's been 2,000 years. When are we going to come out of it, right? So God gave us light in that darkness. And it's amazing. Even the most secular, unaffiliated Jews, what do they still keep for some reason? They light the Hanukkah candles. They might not fast on Yom Kippur. They might not hear the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. They might not even take a lulav or esrog or even sit in the sukkah, right? They might not stay up and learn all night on Shavuos. They might not even keep Shabbat. I don't know. They might even eat in a non-kosher restaurant on a daily basis. I have no idea. But I know one thing. Somehow or another, they're still lighting the Hanukkah candles. They're still keeping that spark alive. Even when that spark is in the darkest, most inferior, faraway niches. Somehow or another, and this is what God promised. I'm not going to forget you. I'm not going to leave anybody behind, even the most inferior. Okay, so what does he say? According to this, Ein pasuk ze shum tzivoy. There's not even a commandment. Ela hodas devarim. It's purely just informational. That's why it says lishivcha shel Aaron, that Aaron did exactly what God commanded. First of all, God didn't command, but it says Aaron did exactly. Kasher tziva Hashem, to tell you ki'ilu tziva Hashem. It was as if God commanded Moses explicitly. He was careful. He wasn't commanded, but he did it as if he was commanded. Do you understand? God did not, there's no command in this verse. And yet he did it as if he was commanded. And afterwards he actually gives a reason from where you can come to this mistake. Remember the mistake we kept saying? That you think it's God needs the light. It says this is the Maseh menorah. This is how to produce the menorah. How the menorah is made. Ki kol kli mishkan nasu al yedei adam. All Betzalel, right? All he was the headmaster craftsman. All the vessels were made by whom? By man. Was there any vessel not made by man? The menorah. The menorah itself was not made by man. Who made the menorah? Chutz min menorah she'asa kadosh baruch hu bi'atzmo chatika achas. Moses had no idea. How am I supposed to make this from one block of metal? So the verse says, Kamar shehera Hashem es Moshe kain aso. Where do we see that on the text here? I think you'll find it. It's number 8. It's Numbers chapter 8, verse 4. This was the form of the menorah, hammered work of gold. From its base to its flower, it was hammered work, according to the form that the Lord had shown Moses. God showed him how it was done. Yeah? Then it says, so did he construct the menorah. I have a small he. Why does it have to be, why do you have to read it as a small he? Kemar asher hera Hashem es Moshe kain also es menorah. Why does it have to be that Moses made the menorah? It's the way God showed Moses. He, Hashem, made the menorah. Okay? You have that, Jane? You see how to read it now? Look at the words again, just so everyone's clear. According to the form that the Lord had shown Moses, comma, so did capital He. So he, Hashem, constructed the menorah. Look at Rashi. According to the forms the Lord had shown, according to the design he had shown him on the mountain. Now you see, and make according to their pattern. So did he construct the menorah, the one who made it, namely Betzalel. That's one opinion. The Agadat Midrash states that it was made by itself through the Holy One, blessed be He. Two ways to read it. He made it. Pashup Pshat. And what does the Medrash say? Hashem made it. Going with that opinion, meaning to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu asa'ah, God made it. Mikan yotza makam l'toim lomar. This is certainly going to get rid of the ideas of anybody making the mistake. Shelechach asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu bi'atzmo lefi sherlo'ura hu tzar. What? God made the menorah himself for light? He needed light, so he made a menorah for light? That's the most ridiculous thing. Therefore, Aaron himself went out of his way to light the menorah. What does it mean Aaron went out of his way? God says you or your sons, but we see that Aaron did it. He saw how chashuv it was, so he went ahead and did it himself. That's what we're about to read. Why does the Torah tell us that Aaron went out of his way, right? It says that it was praising Aaron, that he did such a thing. Remember the verse says, towards the middle lamp, that's where the 7 lights shall shine. He wasn't, let's assume he wasn't being so careful about raising up the actual lamp. We'll see what raising up means. It was just the mention, the warning alone, that he was careful about doing it with the wicks, let's say. There's like 2 instructions. One is that the wick should be to the middle, and the other is that the light, you light it until it comes up by itself. So Aaron didn't only put it towards the middle, but he was also careful to make sure the light goes up by itself, which is another interesting idea because we're talking about the soul of man, right? The soul of man is the lamp of God. What does the flame do? It's always wanting to reach higher and higher. And I really believe this is why people make so many mistakes in life. Okay? They end up on drugs, on alcohol, gambling, overeating, messed up relationships. Because we're really shooting for the stars. We want perfection. We want to go higher and higher. But we need the tools. If we're missing the tools, we get very frustrated. And we want to take shortcuts. Okay? We see every way we're going is somehow not getting us where we want to be, so we're looking for shorter cuts. Right? But if we had the tools that are going to bring us to the heights, really having 1 foot in the world to come and 1 foot in this world, then if we have the tools and we use them, we'll get there much quicker. As they say, the longer road is the shorter road. And that's what it means over here. The verse actually says, towards the middle, he did raise up the candles. And now we're in the end stretch, and it says like this. It's very possible to explain that the what's the word? The praise that was loaded onto Aaron was because in verse 26, chapter 26 in Exodus, verse 21, it says, Yarokoto Aaron ubanav. Who is supposed to arrange it? Aaron and his sons. Nevertheless, Aaron ran to do a mitzvah. We never should pass up a mitzvah. A mitzvah comes to your hand, and what happens? The word mitzvah and matzah are very much related. It's machmitz. If you delay, right? If you like the matzah, you're making matzah, you delay the matzah, it becomes chometz. So too, when you delay a mitzvah, it also ruins and ferments, and it's not very pleasing. But when you're mizdares, when you're fervors to do it, and here he had a choice. He could have done it, or his sons could have done it, and he did it himself. So Yasek and Aaron did it. Aaron performed it. The Visharabah Kedushi Asera, he saw the sanctity of this. You know how he learned the lesson? He saw God himself make the menorah. If God himself made the menorah, how holy can this be? And I'm going to do it also. I got the choice to, my sons can do it, or I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Just like Hashem himself made the menorah, so too Aaron decided this is, we follow Hashem. We act like he does. Outside Haremez, going deeper, El Mul Pnei Menorah, when it says against the face of the menorah, this is a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Remember we said there are three to the middle, and the middle is the face of the menorah, but it says all seven lights. Because you know why? Now there's a machlokus whether the menorah is facing east and west or north and south. But in the far east of the base of Mikdash, so that's where you had the Holy of Holies. Okay. So if it doesn't matter which way it's facing, north and south or east and west, except for the middle wick. So if they're all facing towards the middle, and it's north and south, so the middle wick is going to face, so they're all facing towards the middle, and the middle one is facing towards God. When I say facing towards God, I'm talking metaphysically, we're talking about facing the Holy of Holies. If it was east and west, it's a little bit more difficult. So you're talking about, they were all, still, the three on the east were facing to the middle, the three on the west were facing to the middle, but the middle one was facing to the base of Mikdash, to the Holy of Holies. Okay, there's other ways to describe it, but he says like this, that when it says towards the face of the menorah, we're talking about that's God himself. He's the Oro Shel Olam. He is the light of the world. Ye'iru Shivas Neros, and you shall illuminate the seven candles. Ki kol hakanim, each one of the branches, hayumul hakanim tz'i, meaning the other six branches were all facing the middle branch. And the middle branch somehow, whether it was north and south, east or west, faced the direction of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, which is in the west. Meaning it's as if they were all facing towards the great holy candelabra. I'm talking about Hashem himself. Because that's where all light in this world illuminates from, Hashem himself. And for the last few sentences, from the very fact that it says, Bahalosecha, it doesn't say to light, it says when you raise up. The word aliyah is the root. It's aliyah, that you leak ad shetehei shel heves oilem me'aleha, that you light it to the point that it goes up on its own. In other words, you hold the candle there just for a little bit to assist it, and it's already, when the fire grabs hold, the wick grabs hold of the fire, and it's going to go up on its own. You hold it there for just a few extra seconds. Chazal tell us, so too, we just read, the actual candelabra was made on its own, meaning God made it, but threw the block of metal, gold, into the fire, and it came out, produced. This is the greatest proof. As we'll see, I think this is like one of the last sources. It's Psalms 20, verse 27. That man's soul is the Lord's lamp. You hear this verse? Which searches out all the innermost parts. So, Ola hila mala me'aleha, that it always wants to rise higher and higher. That's the soul of man. Im elo moneh mitzad avonos. The only thing that holds us back from reaching the heights is our own sins. That's it. There's nothing in the way of you totally communing and connecting with Hashem except for your poor choices and sins. V'himasa Hashem, the menorah itself was, and not just the menorah, the lamp of God, your soul. Your soul is a product of God. We say the Holy Trinity in Judaism is us. Each person is made up of three partners: your mom, your dad, and a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? On this source sheet at the very end on the back, I have my famous outline here. The word Adam is Aleph, Daled, Mem. The Gematria is 45. Aleph is 1, Daled is 4, and Mem is 40. So you have, that's the whole man. So you have the father, which is Av. Aleph, Bet is 3. Then you have Mam, is Aim. That's Aleph, Mem, it's 44. So you have 40, what do we have here? I'm sorry, it's 41. I made a mistake. So Aim is 41, Av is 3, you got 44, and you have the Aleph. The Aleph represents God. So you have the Av 3, you have the Aim 41, and you have an Aleph which represents God. God because he's aloof, because he is the leader, the master. That's what aloof means, Aleph means. And not only that, the Aleph is made up of a Vav and 2 Yuds. That's the Gematria of 26. Of course, 26 is Yud Hey and a Vav Hey. Okay, so we'll end, I think we'll end there. Nope, there's one more line. And so these are the three partners in man. We already explained this before in Parshas Truma, and this is all proper that I explained. And he says, this is the smichus ha'ala'at haneros me'atzmam lamasa menera. This is why there's going to be a connection between the going up of the flame of the candles by themselves to the going up of the creation of the menorah itself, because God made it on its own. Ki gam hi hayasamas Hashem. Both the soul, the flame of God, is God created, as it says, Kenaso es menorah. Don't read it as he with a small he, but he is a capital He. God made the menorah, just like he made your soul. HaKadosh Baruch Hu asa'ah. And with that, I wish everyone a freiliche Hanukkah Sameach, a real time to reflect on these 36 lights, because there are going to be 36 significant. Bezrat Hashem, we'll talk about that next Thursday.
Shama shir shir